I was sold. Not to a stranger. Not to some monster lurking in the shadows, breathing like a beast in the dark. No. I was sold to him. The man with cold, calculating eyes and a mouth made for sins. The one who walked into that underground auction like the devil himself, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, reeking of money, danger, and something worse. Control. He didn't flinch. Didn't blink. He looked at those cages like he was shopping for fucking wine. And when his gaze landed on mine, he didn't smile. He didn't leer. He just lifted one brow like I was already his property. And by the end of that night, I was. They dragged me out in front of him like a prize. Collar around my throat. Wrists bound behind my back. The auctioneer called my name. My real one, not the fake alias I tried to hide behind. And he bought me with a single raise of his hand. No words. No hesitation. Just. Sold. I thought he'd take me to a dungeon. Chain me to a wall. Break me down until I cried and begged. That's what they do, right? Men like him? But no. He took me to a penthouse. A silent elevator ride to the clouds. Marble floors, glass walls, soft lights. No screams. He didn't touch me. Didn't even look at me when they left me alone in his world of polished gold. Instead, he poured wine. Red. Thick. Expensive. Set it on the table. And told me, sit. My knees didn't bend easily. I was shaking. Not from fear. Not really. From something else. Something worse. Curiosity. He slid a paper toward me. A single page. A contract. 30 days, he said, his voice a blade dipped in honey. Italian. Smooth. Deep. The kind of voice you dream about right before waking up wet and confused. You stay here. You obey the rules. If, after 30 days, you do not beg me to keep you. A pause. A slow, confident sip of wine. I will set you free. I remember staring at him, trying to find the trap in his words. Was this some game? I laughed. Right in his beautiful, fucking cruel face. You think I'm going to fall in love with you? He smirked. God. That fucking smirk. It was a sin all on its own. Slow. Dangerous. Like he knew a secret I didn't. No, tesoro, he said, that last word melting like syrup on my skin. I think you're going to fall apart without me. That's when I knew. He wasn't interested in my heart. He wanted something else. My mind. My will. My fucking soul. And I signed the contract. Not because I believed him, but because I wanted to prove him wrong. And maybe because a dark, twisted part of me, the part I'd buried deep beneath the good girl mask, was already curious. Curious about the man who hadn't laid a single finger on me, but somehow already had his hand around my throat. The morning didn't come with screams. No steel doors slamming. No barking orders or rough hands dragging me from a cell. No. It came with silence. And a scent I didn't expect. Fresh espresso and something warm, sweet. My eyes cracked open, slowly adjusting to the golden sunlight pouring in through floor-to-ceiling windows. I wasn't in a dungeon. I was in a bed, king-sized, draped in soft, expensive sheets that still smelled like him. Like spice. Sandalwood. Danger. The room was massive. Modern. Cold in its perfection. Too perfect. I swung my legs over the edge, expecting shackles. But there were none. Only the tight knot in my chest reminding me I wasn't free. A knock sounded. Soft. Deliberate. And then a voice, low and feminine, with a crisp Italian accent. Good morning, miss. He requests your presence downstairs. Breakfast is served. He requests. Huh? I rose, ignoring the robe they left neatly folded at the foot of the bed. I didn't want his comfort. Didn't want his clothes wrapping around my body like he already owned me. But I wore it anyway. Because I was cold. Because I hated that I wanted to see him again. The penthouse was too quiet as I padded barefoot down the glass staircase. Each step echoed. Each breath felt stolen. And there he was. At the long dining table. reading something on his phone like he hadn't just bought a woman last night and caged her in a velvet prison. He didn't look up. "Sit," he said simply, still scrolling. God, that tone. I sat a day. Because I didn't know what would happen if I didn't. Breakfast was plated already. Nothing grotesque. Just a perfect spread of fruit, croissants, coffee, and eggs I had no appetite for. "You not hungry?" he asked, finally looking at me. Those eyes. I hated how calm they were. How he looked at me like I was already broken and he was just rearranging the pieces for fun. "Not really," I said. His head tilted slightly. "That's a shame. I enjoy watching you eat." I choked on nothing. "Excuse me. I like observing what you enjoy. What you avoid. What makes your jaw tighten when you're trying not to cry." I swallowed hard. "So I'm just an experiment to you?" He set the phone down. Folded his hands. "No. You're a project. One I intend to finish." A project. Like I was a puzzle missing pieces. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice softer now, calculated. "Today is day 1, tesoro. Don't waste it." I stared at him, my hands clenched in my lap. "What happens if I don't follow your rules?" A smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. "Then I punish you." My thighs clenched instinctively. What kind of punishment? His gaze dipped, just for a breath, to the hollow between my thighs, then back up, slow and deliberate. The kind that teaches. The kind that leaves a memory. One that lingers long after the bruises fade. I felt heat crawl up my neck. Not fear. Not quite. Something darker. "So, what's rule number 1? He stood. Walked toward me. Each step measured, quiet, powerful. He stopped behind me, leaned down, and brushed my hair off my shoulder. His lips grazed the shell of my ear as he whispered, "Don't lie to me. Ever." 3 days. I'd been here 3 whole days. And he hadn't touched me. Hadn't kissed me. Hadn't even brushed past me in the hall. But he was everywhere. Like smoke. Every time I turned a corner, he was there. Silent. Watching. Like he'd already mapped out my every move. Sometimes reading. Sometimes sipping that goddamn espresso like it was brewed from sins and vengeance. Always so fucking composed. Like chaos itself bowed before him. And me? I was starting to unravel. Because it wasn't the cage that kept me in. There were no locks. No chains. No guards. It was him. The walls could have been made of gold, but he was the prison. And the worst part? I was beginning to wonder if I wanted to escape at all. That night, I was pacing the marble floor of his library. Furious. Frustrated. Starving for answers. Or maybe just attention. And then, his voice slithered through the silence, calm and smooth from his velvet chair near the fire. "You pace when you're angry." I stopped mid-step. Spine locking. "I'm not angry," I snapped. "I'm bored." He didn't even lift his eyes from the book he was reading. A worn leather volume, probably older than my childhood. "You don't know me," I added, sharper now. His fingers turned a page with maddening grace. "I know you didn't touch the caviar at dinner. You hate olives. You chose the corner of the bed over the center on the first night. And you only speak when you're pretending not to care." My mouth opened, then closed. Smug fucking bastard. My cheeks flushed, not just from irritation, but from the fact that I'd noticed things too. Stupid things. The way he rolled his sleeves up to his elbows when he was in work mode, veins flexing, gold watch catching the light. The scar near his collarbone, faint, but there. Like a secret no one was allowed to ask about. The sound of his voice in the mornings, low, rough, still heavy with sleep. Like he hadn't spoken to anyone else in years, because maybe he hadn't. And that scent. Leather. Espresso. Power. Like sin in a bottle. It was in the walls. In my sheets. In my skin. It was ruining me. I sank down on the chaise by the window, tucking my legs up beneath me. The city lights stretched below us like a sea of gold. Endless. Beautiful. Indifferent. Why me? I asked suddenly, voice quieter than I meant. This time, he closed the book, lifted his eyes. And those eyes, God, they held a storm behind that calm. Dark. Focused. Dangerous. Because you're not pretending, he said simply. I blinked. Pretending what? That you hate this. Silence stretched. Thick. Heated. And then he stood, slowly, deliberately, crossing the room with that lethal grace of his. He didn't touch me. Just stood behind the chaise, close enough that I could feel the heat of him roll over my shoulders like a threat. Or a promise. You're not afraid of being broken, he said, voice like velvet blades. You're afraid you'll like it. I turned, meeting his gaze over my shoulder. I'm not afraid of anything. That cruel smirk tugged at his lips again. No, tesoro. Not yet. I told myself I hated him. Over and over again like a mantra. Like a prayer. Like a lie I was desperate to believe. But every night, I dreamed about him. And every morning, I woke up soaked. Soaked between my thighs, heart pounding, skin hot, like I'd sinned in the presence of a god and liked it. I'd throw the sheets off, panting, ashamed, furious. Because he still hadn't touched me. Not even once. He hadn't brushed past me in the hallway. Hadn't let his hand linger too long when passing the wine glass. Hadn't even grazed my skin by accident. But he was everywhere. His scent haunted the penthouse like a ghost in a suit. Leather, spice, smoke. I'd sit on the velvet couch and feel him in the cushions. I'd eat at the long glass table and hear his voice echo in the walls. Obey the rules. Don't lie to yourself. You're already mine, even if you don't know it yet. By day 7, I was a mess. My nerves were tight. My body restless. My thighs aching. I snapped at the housekeeper. Slammed a door. Threw a pillow across the room like a fucking teenager. By day 8, I was wet just from hearing his footsteps outside my bedroom. His measured, calm, arrogant gait. Click, click, click. Every time I heard it, my breath would catch. My hand would twitch at my side. And I'd bite my lip until I tasted blood. But day 9? That was when I broke. I locked the bathroom door like it mattered. Like he wasn't already in my head, in my skin, in my veins. I stood in front of the mirror. My reflection was flushed. My nipples were hard under the black lace camisole he'd left on the bed that morning. No note. Just the gift. Soft. Expensive. Pure temptation. The kind of fabric that makes you feel naked even when you're covered. I hated that I wore it. I hated that it made me feel like I belonged to him. And then I did it. I slid my hand between my thighs, shivering as my fingers found heat and slickness, and whispered his name. Dante. It wasn't just a moan. It was a fucking confession. The syllables of his name rolled off my tongue like a secret prayer. My eyes locked on my own in the mirror. Dark. Desperate. Dirty. I imagined him behind me. Fist in my hair. Breath against my ear. His voice low and commanding. Touch yourself for me, tesoro. And I obeyed. I gasped. Moaned. Shook. Came hard, knees buckling, mouth open in silent surrender. I should have cried after. Should have felt shame. But I didn't. Because the worst part? I did it again. And again. By day 11, it became a ritual. The cold marble under my back. The camisole pushed up. My legs spread wide, greedy, aching. And his name, muffled behind bitten lips, every fucking time. I couldn't even come without thinking of him anymore. That was the worst part. Not that I hated myself for it, but that I didn't. He left a box on my bed. No note. Just silk ribbon. Black. Like sin. Like the promise of a night I wouldn't survive. My pulse kicked. I told myself not to care. Not to feel anything. But my hands shook as I untied the ribbon. Inside? Lace. Thin. Delicate. Barely there. Crotchless panties. My stomach dropped. And inside the lid of the box, in that sharp, expensive scrawl of his, was a single line. Wear them. Sit on my lap at dinner. No excuses. My breath caught. My legs went weak. This wasn't a game anymore. This was war. He was done waiting. And the worst part? So was I. I wore them. Of course I fucking wore them. And when I walked into the dining room, I saw him already seated, legs spread, sleeves rolled up, sipping red wine like it was blood. He didn't look at me. Didn't speak. I sat across from him. My skin was burning. My thighs damp. My nerves snapping like tension wire. The air was thick, heavy, saturated with the kind of silence that makes you forget your own name. And then, his foot brushed mine under the table. Just a whisper of contact. Just enough to send a jolt straight to my core. Then his fingers reached across the space, slow, controlled, and lifted my chin. I looked into his eyes and forgot how to breathe. Dante. He looked like sin carved from marble. Like Roth wrapped in Armani. Like the devil I wanted to kneel for. You think I don't know what you do in that bathroom? He murmured, voice low. Dangerous. Velvet soaked in gasoline. My entire body froze. Heat surged up my chest, over my face. I could feel myself blushing. Humiliated. Exposed. Ruined. You've been a very bad girl, Tesoro. His thumb stroked my jaw like he owned it. Touching what doesn't belong to you. I swallowed hard. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. Still, I didn't flinch. I stared straight into his stormy eyes and whispered, "What are you going to do about it?" Defiant. Reckless. Begging. And then he smiled. Slow. Dark. Devouring. It wasn't a smile of mercy. It was a promise of ruin. Nothing, he said, voice deep, rough. Not yet. He leaned closer, his mouth just inches from mine, his breath warm and cruel. You already falling, baby girl. And I always enjoy the descent. The rules changed. Not with words. With touch. Soft at first. So fucking soft I thought I imagined it. A hand grazing my waist when he walked behind me. Fingers adjusting the strap of my nightdress. Slow, deliberate, possessive. Like I belonged to him already. Like the war was over, and I'd already lost. But he still hadn't kissed me. He didn't have to. Because on day 16, he cornered me. I was trying to pass in the hallway. He didn't move. Excuse me, I muttered, staring at his chest instead of those sinful eyes. He looked down at me, calm, dark, lethal. Like a storm right before it breaks. You smell like me, he said. My stomach dropped. I don't. He leaned in. Close enough to set my nerves on fire. That's my body wash. My shirt. My bed. His voice was silk over knives. And soon. He paused. Breath hot enough to melt the air between us. You'll be soaked in my cum. I gasped. But he was already gone. Vanished like a ghost with the scent of sin in his wake. Day 17? He started watching. He sat in the lounge chair like he was enthroned. Like a king. Sprawled out. Legs wide. Staring. I was curled on the couch, in his shirt. Nothing underneath. Trying to read. Failing miserably. Because his eyes were on me like fire on dry wood, waiting for me to burn. He didn't touch. Didn't speak. But every time his gaze dragged down my legs, I clenched. Soaked. So fucking soaked. Day 18 broke me. I was on the bed. Restless. Wet. Angry at myself. And then he walked in. Slow. Casual. Like he didn't just own the room. He was the room. His voice was calm. Cruel. Open your legs. I blinked. My heart skidded. What? He didn't raise his voice. Didn't move closer. I want to see where you touch yourself when you think about me. I should have screamed. Should have slapped him. But I didn't. Because my body, my filthy, weak, traitorous body, spread. Just like that. My legs trembled before he even reached me. He didn't undress. Didn't unzip. He just walked over and traced a single finger up the inside of my thigh. Slow. Barely a whisper. Not quite touching my pussy. Just close enough to ruin me. You're shaking, he murmured. Because you're scaring me, I whispered back. He smiled. Dark. Knowing. Carnal. No, baby girl. You're shaking because you want me. He leaned down. Pressed his mouth to my throat. Just once. A kiss that felt like a brand. Then he pulled away, leaving me wrecked. But not yet, he said, voice thick with promise. You'll beg. His eyes locked with mine. Soon. By now, I was wrecked. A mess of aching thighs and desperate breaths. Every step felt like friction. Every dream? Drenched. Sticky. Wrapped in his voice and his fucking stare. I touched myself to the idea of him. To his threats. To his control. To the sound of his voice in my head. I came screaming his name into my pillow. Whimpering like a dirty little thing starved for a man who hadn't even kissed me properly yet. But day 22? He made me say it. We were in the kitchen. Morning light. Bare feet. Silence. I reached for a glass. His arm slid around me from behind. Not rough. Not gentle. Just final. His breath was fire against my neck. Say it, he growled. I froze. My fingers around the rim of the glass. Say what? Who you think of, he murmured, voice thick like smoke, when your hands between your legs. My blood turned to molten syrup. I stayed silent. He pressed in closer. Hard. Thick. Unforgiving. His cock, right against my ass. His arm, a goddamn steel band around my waist. Say it, he warned, or I'll put my fingers in your mouth instead of your cunt. My knees buckled. I gripped the counter for dear life. You, I whispered. Louder. You, I choked out again, breathless. Ruined. He kissed my neck. Then bit it. And God, I whimpered like he'd already split me open. But he didn't fuck me. He didn't even unzip. No. This was punishment. Torture. He left me dripping. Day 25. I snapped. I walked into his room. No knock. No shame. Climbed right onto his lap like I was born to straddle that throne. My hands shook as they clutched his shoulders. I could feel him, big, hard, fucking smug, underneath me. Please, I whispered, already rocking against him. He raised a brow. For what, tesoro? I need you, I breathed. He tilted his head. Say it right. My cheeks burned. My pussy throbbed. I need you to, I swallowed hard. To fuck me. His lips curled. That's a good girl, he murmured, dragging my face close. But you still haven't earned it. Then, he shifted his thigh, pressed it between my legs, and grinned me down on it. One hand tangled in my hair. The other? On my hip. Guiding me. Controlling me. Ride it, he whispered in my ear. Come like a needy slut. But you don't get my cock until I say so. I came. Hard. Shaking. Crying out. Grinding like a bitch in heat. And the whole time? He just watched. Whispered filth in my ear. Look at you. Soaking my pants. So fucking desperate. You'd beg on your knees if I told you to, wouldn't you? He didn't touch my clit. Didn't kiss me. He didn't have to. He owned me. And he fucking knew it. I waited in his room. Naked beneath his shirt. My heart beat wild in my chest, thudding so loud I barely heard the door open. He stepped in slowly. Calm. Confident. Like he'd sensed I'd be waiting. On your knees, he said. And I obeyed. No hesitation. No thoughts. Just instinct. He crouched down, fingers brushing my cheek, tilting my face up to meet his eyes. You begged, he murmured. You imagined me, you touched yourself, whispering my name. My breath caught. Yes. You gave yourself to me before I even laid a hand on you. His hand slid to my throat, just a whisper of pressure. Enough to ground me. Claim me. Let me show you what surrender really means. He kissed me. Slow. Deep. Like he wasn't in a rush, like he needed to memorize every part of me. I moaned into his mouth, and that was it. That's when he moved. Laid me out on the bed. Body caging mine. Mouth a trail of fire from my lips to my collarbone. Down, down, until he reached the curve of my chest. He sucked gently, lazy circles, his voice a growl between licks. You'll fall apart on my tongue before I ever take you fully. And God, he meant it. He kissed lower, slower, hotter. By the time his mouth found the center of my need, I was trembling. He tasted me like I was his favorite sin. Soft at first. Teasing strokes that had me gasping. Then deeper. Firmer. Until my thighs locked around his shoulders and I was crying out his name, again and again. But he didn't stop. Not when I begged. Not when I came. Not even when I whimpered, voice wrecked, hips shaking beneath him. You taste like a dream, he growled, lips slick from my release. I reached for him, desperate now. Please. I need all of you. He climbed over me slowly, his body a wall of heat. Look at you, he whispered, eyes burning. So soft. So undone. All mine. He kissed me, deeply, then pressed inside. Not rough. Not fast. Slow. Deliberate. Like he wanted me to feel every single inch I'd been aching for. And I did. He moved with control. Deep. Rhythmic. Each grind stole the breath from my lungs, the sound from my throat. Say it, he groaned. Say you're mine. I'm yours, I gasped, body arching beneath him. Again. I'm yours. Always. That was all he needed. His grip tightened. His rhythm changed. Until we were lost, wrapped in each other, in sweat and moans and everything too sacred to speak. When we came, it was not just pleasure. It was a reckoning. After, he held me against his chest. Tight. Protective. Like I was something precious. You begged, he whispered, brushing his lips to my temple. You fell. You're mine now, little one. I smiled against his skin. I was yours long before day one. End.